it's Mo. It is March 31st, and I have just started my February read for the TBR Spin. The TBR Spin is a super fun booktube game created by Jill at the Book Bully and Sarah at Freshly Read Books. It was inspired by the TBR Tackle and the booktube spin, but it has become a game on its own, and in 2024 we are playing the second year of it, the second full round of it. The rules for the TBR Spin are very simple. At the beginning of the year, we pick 12 books off our TBR. That can be your physical TBR that you want to get down. It could be like your wish list that you want to get down. It could be your audio or digital list that you want to get down. But you pick 12 books, and every month Jill or Sarah spin the wheel, and whatever prompt the wheel lands on leads us to one of our books off of our stack. So you might have a book that matches the prompt, you might not. You might have to go outside of your stack and swap out a book. The prompt might be to swipe out a book, so you just never know what you're going to get. For the February prompt, the wheel picked a book that made you feel like summer or a spring day or a sunny day. I think it was a sunny day. And I picked Lot. The cover is over there, but the cover is of a fire hydrant opened, and it looks like the sun is streaming through it, and that is partly why I picked it. Another reason that I picked it is that because Brian Washington, the author, is from Houston, Texas, which is a very warm, sunny place, and I have a feeling that most of his stories are about growing up poor and black in Houston, and the idea of that coupled with the fire hydrant being open really makes me think of summer. It really makes me think of New York in summer and how fun it is when the fire hydrants are open and you get to play on your block or in your neighborhood in the fire hydrant. Lot is a book of short stories, and I picked a lot of short stories for the TBR Spin this year, specifically because I want to read down some of my short story collection, and also because I think it's fun to force myself to read short stories, because I don't love to read short stories. I love short work and I love individual short stories, but short story collections are hard for me to read because if they're not interconnected, I find it very hard to jump from story to story immediately. I find that I really need to read a story, stop reading that book for a little while, put it down, pick up again, later in the day or another day, read the next story, because if I don't remember any of the stories. But if I take my time with it, then certain stories stand out to me more than others. Like I said, I'm super far behind on reading my TBR Spin. I vlog all my TBR Spin books, and at the end of each vlog, I pick the book for the next video and of the next month. So in January, I was super late, and I didn't finish my January pick until February. In February, I picked my February pick, but I'm not even starting it until the end of March. So I haven't looked at the March prompt. I don't know what the March prompt is. Tomorrow, the April prompt is going to be announced, and I haven't read that either. So I might at some point have to do a catch-up vlog where I do a couple of books at once in one vlog and really buckle down and read them. But if I'm doing that with short stories, that's going to be really hard because it takes me kind of a long time to read short story collections. Anyway, back to Lot. So far, I have read 2 stories in this book, and they are all about growing up in Houston and in kind of, not exactly a specific neighborhood, but in a specific area of Houston. So there's a map in the front. I think it's going to be mostly about that area and how people living in that area tend to be poor, they tend to be immigrants, they tend to be people of color, and I think it's going to be really interesting. The first story was quite short. It's called Lockwood, and it is about a young man who befriends his neighbors even though his dad kind of doesn't approve, and how he and his neighbor friend have some of their first sexual encounters together. The next story that I read was Elif, and this is about a woman, an immigrant from Jamaica, who comes over with her husband who wants to be a doctor and then ends up having an affair with one of the very few white people living in that neighborhood and in her apartment complex. And there's probably, 8 to 10 more stories, some of them longer than others, and I am definitely looking forward to reading this one. I read read Brian Washington's book, Memorial, and I'm super excited to read his new book, Family Meal. I liked Memorial, and I liked that the writing was very straightforward, very plain, very simple, and I feel like that is the same in this book. The second story was told almost in a choral voice, the chorus of the other people living in this neighborhood, in this apartment building, which I thought was interesting. So I think there are going to be some innovations and interesting things in the way that this is written, the tone and the ideas. The writing overall and the stories are very similar to each other and very similar to Memorial, where it's very simple, very plain. And I like that kind of writing, so that's not a detriment to me, but so far I don't think this book is going to do anything like amazing or incredible. And that's how I felt about Memorial. I really liked Memorial. I thought it was really good. I teared up at parts, but like it didn't grab me. I didn't love it. I didn't fall in love with the characters. It is a book that I think about, but not all the time. It's a book that I enjoyed and I have recommended to others, and I actually gave my copy to a friend to read because it was a book that I wasn't going to put on my red shelf, because this book I'm probably never going to reread. So I'm excited to see this one, especially because this is Brian Washington's first like published work, or at least like big published work where he got noticed. And then after this, I'm excited to read Family Meal and see how I feel about like him and his writing and how he's growing and changing, etc., etc. When I read some more stories, I will check in with you, and then at the end of this video I will watch the March video, but I might watch March and April and try to do both in April. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Let me know if you're participating in the BookTube Spin, and let me know what you are reading for February or March, whatever you prefer. Also, let me know if you've read any Brian Washington and what you thought of his work, and when I read some more, I will let you know. It is April, and I've just finished Lot, which was my February book for the TBR Spin. I mentioned that it's very simple prose, very easy to read, and that I was really enjoying it. I definitely didn't enjoy this one as much as Memorial. I would put so far Lot, then Memorial on top. Memorial wasn't my favorite book either, but I do really like Brian Washington's writing, and I like the stories that he's choosing to tell. Lot is a collection of short stories, but many of the short stories, I would say about half of the short stories, revolve around one family, two brothers, a sister, and their mother, and the story of how their father kind of drifted in and out of their lives and then eventually did leave them. So we get most of the stories from the younger brother, who is gay and black and growing up in Texas with his family. Through his voice, we learn about him and his history and his ideas and his sexual identity. We learn about his brother Javi and his sister Jan, and we learn about his mother. Our main character has a very close relationship with his mother, but also a kind of unhealthy relationship with her because he is not out and he's not entirely out to most of the family. Throughout these stories, we see his coming of age, we see his relationship with his brother, his mother, his sister, and the father who abandoned them. We see his learning about his sexual identity and kind of coming to terms with that. We see different loves of his life, different losses in his life, and I really like those stories. I do kind of wish that this had been a book all with those stories in it and not with other stories. Even if it had been a novella, I think that would have been fine. I thought that this was very much in the vein of The House on Mango Street by Sandra Cisneros, and very much had the same feeling of short vignette stories that all had a common theme of of where all these people lived and of the immigrant experience of that place. So the immigrant experience, all different kinds of immigrants from all different places, plays a huge part in this book and is like a central theme running through it, as well as learning your own identity and your queer identity. I think also had a big theme throughout these stories. Most of the stories do involve queer young men, and a lot of them, especially the ones centering around this family, felt like autofiction, felt like Brian Washington's own story. So I did really enjoy it, but it's not my favorite. I like Brian Washington's writing style, but it's not super compelling. It's not super captivating that you want to keep reading it so much constantly. I think it's really good, and reading these stories, you know, over a few weeks, 1 to 2 stories a day worked fine. I did always want to pick it up and read another story, but it wasn't, I don't know, it didn't grab me and hold me and make me like, oh my god, I gotta read more of this, and like, oh my god, I can't wait to read Brian Washington's next book. I do want to read Brian Washington's next book. Family Meal is really interesting to me because, especially because all his books so far have revolved around restaurants or the service industry or your family owning a restaurant and having to work in it, and that to me is like one of my favorite parts of reading all of his books, is the way that he feels about the restaurant industry, or the way that he expresses that through his characters, how the characters work in different restaurant industry settings and their feelings on them. So I really love that part. I hope Family Meal leans even more heavily into those themes, and I kind of hope it's not set in Texas. I will definitely be reading Family Meal, and we'll see where it goes in my rankings, and I will continue to read whatever else Brian Washington puts out. I didn't keep Memorial, the hardcover that I had of Memorial. Now I'm kind of wishing I did. I wonder if my friend still has it. I should text him. Now we need to pick my next book for the TBR Spin. I am so far behind, and I'm trying to decide if I should do 2 books in one vlog to catch up, or if I should do 1 book each vlog like I normally do and try to catch up. Let's go watch March's prompt and see what that book is, and then try to decide if we want to do 2 books in the next vlog and catch up, or if we just want to keep going as we're going, and if we're a little late, we're a little late. Okay, I'm back. Quick shower break. Now on to the March prompt for TBR Spin. But before we do that, let's just talk about the books that are still on my spin list. I have Her Body and Other Parties by Carmen Maria Machado. I'm super excited because I just found In the Dream House the other day. Very cool. The Office of Historical Corrections by Danielle Evans. Build Your House Around My Body by Violet Coopersmith. The Spirit of Science Fiction by Robert Bolaño. At that same sale, I also got another Robert Bolaño, so I should start reading some of his work because I have like 3 of his books now. How to Love a Jamaican by Alexa Arthurs. Sorrowland by Rivers Solomon. Split Tooth by Tanya Tagaq. The Ones We're Meant to Find by Joan He. The Stationery Shop by Marjan Kamali. And The Dead Take the A Train by Cassandra Kaw and Richard Kadri. So those are the books on my TBR stack. I am kind of hoping to read one particular book this month. I won't say what it is, but it is April, so that might be a clue. Other than that one book, I would like to read another short story collection, I guess, because I specifically picked a bunch of short story collections for this year's spin list. But other than that, I'm happy to see what the prompt is and see what we get. So let's watch Sarah's video. So she brings up a good point that if you haven't started playing TBR Spin yet and you want to, you can pick 10 books and watch this prompt, the March prompt, or you can pick 9 books and watch the April prompt, which is more relevant today since it is the middle of April. But it's never too late to play is the whole point. So if you are interested, I've also seen people play for just 1 month. So they made a stack of however many books, watch that particular prompt, and just pick that one book. So I think that's a fun way to participate as well. Either way, you're like getting books off of your TBR, and either way you're able to participate in like the comments and stuff, so I think it's a good idea. So it's always a good point. Okay, so the prompt was a book that will heal you, and as Sarah pointed out, the prompts have been a little bit more like nebulous and more up for interpretation, and it's hard because I don't have a lot of books that I think will heal me just in general. I don't really read like happy or uplifting books, but like she mentioned, maybe healing you means you have a good cry or something like that. So I have a couple of ideas. One is How to Love a Jamaican by Alexa Arthurs. This one is a collection of short stories set in Jamaica. I almost picked this one for the Sunny prompt, but I did not. That I just think could be, you know, island stories. I'm sure they're not all going to be happy by any means. I'm sure most of them aren't. Just the title, the cover could heal me. Maybe. We'll see. The other book that I'm thinking of, and the one I'm kind of leaning towards, is The Ones We're Meant to Find. This is like a cli-fi about sisters who are missing, and I've had this on my TBR for a very long time. I found it in Long Beach Island, New Jersey at a little free library. It was one that I wanted to read, and I've been putting it off. So maybe it would heal me to read a book that I've been putting off. So I'm kind of leaning towards this one. I think I'm gonna go ahead and pick The Ones We're Meant to Find by Joan He. So this is a young adult novel, but it's one that I've been really interested in, and it is kind of long, 375 pages, somewhere around there. But I did recently see my library has the audiobook, so maybe I will pick this as my next audio read. It's really pretty. It has really pretty end papers. I really want to like it. Most of the people that I've seen read this don't like it, but I definitely want to give it a try. So we're going to go ahead and go with The Ones We're Meant to Find as our March pick. Let me watch the end of Sarah's video just to make sure that there's not anything extra or anything I miss that we need to talk about before I finish this video. So nothing missed at the end of the video. I am going to go with The Ones We're Meant to Find by Joan He, and I am just going to read this book in the next vlog. Maybe what we'll do is we'll hopefully get through this one quickly, and then we'll be able to read the next book in quick succession and catch back up for May. It is April 11th, so I do have enough time that I could theoretically finish this and start the next book, or even finish the next book if I get through it. I look forward to starting this one, and I look forward to starting a new vlog about it. I vlog all my TBR Spin books, so if you want to see any of the TBR Spin from 2023 or any of the ones that I've done so far in 2024, there will be a playlist listed down below. Let me know in the comments if you are joining in on the TBR Spin, and if you are, what pick you got for March or April or whichever book you're on currently. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!